Hello out there and welcome to Public Conscience. This is the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. PRIMOG is a civil society organization with a mandate to promote good governance, participation and accountability in Nigeria. I am Adaobi Obiabomo with Chidozie Ogbonnaya.
Welcome to the program.
On Public Conscience on Radio, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society through the amplification of corruption-related stories reported by our partner media organizations and drawing citizens and government attention for democratic actions against it. We also promote integrity by focusing on rare cases of the display of honesty by public and private individuals in the course of their normal activities. The MacArthur Foundation supports the production of this program.
Today we will continue the conversation we started last week.
We had a robust conversation on why budgeting fraud has become almost institutionalized in Nigeria today and why we have seen little or no concerted effort by the government to fight this cancer.
Many Nigerians are worried that there has not been enough value for the humongous amount of money spent on national budgets over the years, and according to budget, 460 projects worth 378.9 billion naira were duplicated in the 2022 budget, which is only 17.13 trillion naira.
Unfortunately, apart from the 460 duplicated projects, the current budget is reportedly filled with inflated projects amounting to billions of naira. Some of the inflated projects, according to the report, are found in the presidency, ministries, departments, and agencies.
However, Nigerians are not new to stories of duplication of projects and inflation of cost of items in the budget, which runs into billions of naira. Before now, we've had confirmed cases of budget padding, but the big question is, has anyone been punished for budget padding?
The program today is aimed at reminding the government and citizens that corruption through budgeting is draining Nigeria of its scarce and borrowed resources. We have a seasoned economist, Mr. Tope Fashua, in the studio. Mr. Fashua represents a strong voice for good governance in Nigeria. You're welcome to the program.
All right, thank you very much.
We also have a journalist, the head of news at Kiss FM, Mrs. Ayoade Olatokewa, in the studio. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Both of them will help us to understand better why budget fraud seems to have developed strong taproots in Nigeria and how we can tackle public sector corruption in Nigeria. Make no mistake about it. Today's discussion is about corruption. It is about mismanagement of our commonwealth by our duty bearers. And it is the reason you and I are still lacking infrastructure and basic amenities. But first, how conversant are you with the details of our national budgets? Do you know that just last year, ICPC said it discovered 257 duplicated projects in the 2021 budget? Have you ever wondered how the number of roads, bridges, and hospitals public funds stolen through budget could have built across the country?
Be ready to join us through phone and text messages in the course of the conversation. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message is 09022656167, and that is 09022656167. Please indicate your name and your location when sending your message. This number is for messages only.
Please begin to send your messages as soon as possible to 0902-265-6167. That is 0902-265-6167. We will give you the numbers to call shortly.
The inconsistencies of the 2022 budget have continued to gain traction and dominate national conversations lately. More so, public sector corruption is also leading the cause of leakages in the economy, and loss of national revenue has kept Nigeria at the doldrum of development and progress.
And according to the Society for Forensic Accounting and Fraud Prevention, a whopping 2 1.5 trillion naira is lost yearly in Nigeria due to fraud and corruption. Let us now bring in our guests to the discussion. Welcome again, Tope Fashua.
Thank you very much.
And the head of news at Kiss FM, Ayada Olatokewa. Welcome once again.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
We'll start today's conversation with the economists. They are both economists, but we'll start with Tope. Budget analysis of the 2022 budget raised numerous questions. What do you make of the red flags in the current budget, and how is the persistent fraud implicating on our dear nation?
Well, like you said, it's consistent, it's perennial, meaning that it's almost a yearly occurrence, and of course, it's bad enough. Well, until agencies like Budget and Co. do their job before we see those things being flagged. If those agencies were in there, a lot of those things will go as is. And of course, after these things are flagged, we hear explanations maybe from Budget Office that, okay, sorry, we don't disburse to such projects eventually, or okay, maybe there were some things that in the narration is not what it is, you know. So last year this happened, this year it's happening again. Of course, I think also in the fundamental issue becomes by how much should the legislators intervene in the budget, the national budget. Whereas it is true that in the kind of a political system we run, the legislators have the right to scrutinize the budget and to ensure that it conforms really with their own aspirations. But in Nigeria, it's become a sort of brigandage whereby legislators are thinking about what favors them, not necessarily their people. And at the end of the day, they end up putting all sorts of things in the budget. And of course, sometimes the executive that sends in the budget in the first place may not recognize the budgets that come out of the legislatures eventually. Of course, it's about misappropriation of funds, it's about misplaced priorities, it's about embezzlement and corruption. And it's something that needs to be stopped in this country going forward.
Just like you just said, is it enough for the Budget Office to say at the end of the day monies were not released for such particular duplicated projects?
It's not enough. That's what I've said. It's not enough because if those things weren't pointed out in the first place, nobody will hear anything. And are we sure that those monies were not disbursed at all in the years before? You know, should we just rely on their say-so? Just because they've said so, everybody goes to sleep and say, well, okay, the Budget Office will not. And so I think we also need to consider the role of technology in some of these things. Because again, you know, the budget is a very hefty document. If you're looking at it just with physical eyes and so on, you may not be able to tell, you know, whatever has been duplicated. Budget IT would have used technology, and whatever technology is available to organizations like Budget IT should also be deployed by the Budget Office itself to ensure that you know, these things don't continue to happen. I remember years back the issue was about procurement, whereby one ministry wants to buy, let's say, a Toyota van, you know, and you see that that same type of van has so many different prices across the MDAs. This one wants to buy 15 million, another one is quoting 30 million. Sometimes the disparity is more than 100%, and so on. And so that was the issue then, except you lock down some of these things with technology so that people would have very little leeway. I know that also technology can be manipulated, but everything that needs to be done. And I think at the end of the day also, eternal vigilance by citizens is very, very important. We must continue to be vigilant and to point out any anomaly that we find in the budgeting process.
All right, internal vigilance by the citizens. I go with you on that. But let's bring in Ayade to also have a say on this. Ayade, what is your reaction to the reports of duplication of projects in the 2022 budget, and why should the ordinary Nigerian be interested in the budget?
Just to go with Mr. Tokwe, I think it's really a sad tale that keeps reoccurring in our governance space, and it's so bad that I just believe that the legislators are collaborators with the executive to loot Nigerians of what should be, because I expect that I sometimes ask myself, what happens to budget defense? Even with the NDAs, there's a phase it goes through before it gets to the National Assembly. Is it that nobody is checking? And these lawmakers, they've been in the house for 2-3 years. If this same budget was passed last year and you saw these things, how come it came again and you allow it to pass? And then for Nigerians, I think we just have to know about what is happening with our budget, because it is what translates to the reality of what we see in Nigeria. It's just like 5% of Nigerians are benefiting, while over 870 million Nigerians are below the poverty line. We need to be interested in the budget because it concerns us. It concerns our welfare. It is it is the fiscal representative that translates into what we see as citizens. And if we don't follow it, we are the ones to be blamed. We complain about loans and loans. Look at Zimbabwe now; they want to be receiving salary with US dollars, and because all these things have a rippling effect, it affects the economy, it affects citizens. So we just have to be interested in what the budget is. I agree we have challenges with the terms and the jargons in the budget, but I also think the civil society organization needs to do more. They are trying to do more to actually break this budget down at the local government level constituency so that people can actually follow, because what discourages most people is because of the jargons and the technicalities involved. But it's high time Nigeria needs to know what is happening with our budget so that we can begin to bring these people to question that why this, why that. But because they know we don't know, so of course it just comes the same way, and definitely nobody complains, and we keep seeing the same problem year in, year out.
Okay, you mentioned the National Assembly, but now let me go to Tope. Where do you think these duplications emanate from? Is it from the MDAs or from the National Assembly?
Well, okay, so there are two types of duplications, all right? In this instance, the recent furor was actually, I think Budget tried to pin that down to the National Assembly. And, because it was after the president had given, they added about 6,576 new projects to the budget, and the president did complain about it. But there are two ways by which you can duplicate a budget, an item in a budget. Either an item that had been budgeted for in a previous year, okay, and disbursed in that previous year, is repeated, that you want to redo it this year when it had already been done. Or you see a budget occurs in let's say, in Ministry of Education, that's the ministry as a whole, but in one of the parastatals or some of the parastatals it occurs again. So if ministry says we want to buy 12 vehicles for UBEC, for example, and then UBEC also say we want to buy 12 vehicles, and someone will say, okay, but what is this one that has been budgeted for? Because they're now double counting. And sometimes it could be done several times because there are ministries that have many parastatals under them. So the kind of genius it will take for you to be able to have that eagle eye. Of course, places like Budget may have to divide the the work and say, okay, a team is working on Ministry of Education, another is working on this and that. And then of course there are also these service-wide agencies, service-wide votes, okay, which is something that's managed by the executive. It's a kind of loose vote with which they can intervene anywhere they want.
Do you think it's intentional?
What is it? Yeah, of course, sometimes. Of course it is. It can be intentional. Of course, I can't sit here as judge and jury. All right. Before you would talk about intentionality, you have to be able to, know all the facts and interrogate people and say, why was this done? However, there's a very, very high likelihood that it's intentional, because in law enforcement and all of that, you talk about motive. The motive is to make money. All right. So, and we have seen that done in this country too many times, and so on. And I think also we talked about the political system we run, okay, and the inconsistencies of that political system. Okay, so why would the legislators have all the leeway to change the budget the way they want? So why don't they do the budget themselves from the scratch? Okay, why does the presidency have to do the budget first and comes there, but they say, listen, we have the right to take this apart? But of course, from the place where we borrowed our political system, America is also the same way. However, because those ones are not as hungry as we are here. You don't hear that the legislators are at loggerheads with the executives too often, where they are tearing the budget apart and putting their own things and so on. However, it's a fundamental thing that because the legislators are the ones that represent the people and the budget is for the people, therefore the budget should reflect the wishes of the people.
But in addition to what we are talking about, the duplications, what are some of other challenges of the budget in Nigeria, and what do you think predisposes past and present national budget to corruption?
Well, the key issue with the budget for me, if I'll take just one, I mean, there could be several issues that's wrong with the budget. The point is also the inadequacy of that budget. I've been one person who has been talking about this for long. Nigeria has one of the lowest per capita budgets in the world, and I think just two days ago there was an article by one Mr. Ken Peeling or so in Financial Times that actually said that government in Nigeria is actually too small, that our budget is, in fact, he used the word desultory 30 billion for 200 million people. The last time I did that mathematics and I compared across different countries, we were only bigger than Congo Republic. Okay, so
you think our budget
is
really
it's
small?
actually too small. Number one, it's actually too small per capita, because at the end of the day you may find out that what the government has planned to spend on you as an individual for the year, whether for education, for your security, for your environment, for whatever else, health and so on, is about $150. All right, that's what the Nigerian government plans to spend on each person. $150, maximum $200. Then when you look at countries that are really up there, places like the United States, about $24,000, $30,000 per human being. The whole of Europe is also that way. In Africa here, places like Angola, like Egypt, like Algeria, like South Africa budget's about 2,500 per human being. So you see that the budget is a poverty budget, actually.
But unfortunately, corruption is also at the other end, dragging the $150.
Exactly, that's the problem. So corruption now takes maybe $100 out of the 150, and you're left with $50. So that's the major issue.
Enough money to fund the budget.
Exactly, of course. So you see, the economy is in some sort of comatose state that will require what they call a shock treatment for us to come back. Are people ready to pay higher taxes? People are not. Why? Because they're not happy with what the government has been doing with the money. And it's just unfortunate. I was looking at the inflation rate from 2015 to date. It's an average of 300% on almost everything, from food to your phone to everything to clothes, about 300%. How have people been coping? So that's why they say Nigeria is churning out more poor people on a daily basis, and that's not good enough. So there are many things that are wrong with the budget. How to fund the budget is a problem. You know, the skewness of the budget. What exactly are we budgeting for? Is anybody actually asking the people what they want? We should be able to have a budget that goes down to the grassroots and say, what do you guys want? Okay, you needn't do everything that the people want for them. They say sometimes leadership is the act of taking people to where they need to be, even sometimes when they don't like it. So if people say, just give us the cash, we need cash now, I say, okay, you know what, you don't need we're not going to give you the cash now, we're going to build you some schools so that your children can go to school and make money and give you the money and spend on you and all of that. But there's so many things wrong with it. But I want to say that the volume of that budget itself is a budget that perpetuates poverty, and all of us must chip in, whether in terms of paying up our dues, especially the rich people in this country. When Okonjo-Iweala was here as minister for the coordinating the economy and so on, she talked about luxury taxis and all of that, which never came to fruition. Why? Because the rich people in this country are always protecting themselves, and this is why we are still where we are today.
The rich, our leaders. You mentioned the grassroots, and now you are there. Earlier in your submission, you also talked about the state. So the spotlight is not always on state's budget. Do you think budget fraud at the state level is that serious? And can it be linked to why most states are not viable?
Of course, it's even worse than the federal, because in the states, most of the legislature, they are under the arm of the governor. So they are lame dog. They just go with the dictate of whatever the governor says. And it's that bad. You see some states giving us budget of terminologies of Olympics or whatever. But you just discover that those budgets just have big numbers, and it's just like a number in a balloon that once you deflate it, you don't get anything in return. I think for the state, at the state level, is really what, and it's really a concern, because what I think the problem we have is because everything is really centered on the federal, which makes a lot of people not to look at the states. Some states are very viable, they can do well if actually they harness their potential. Some states in US, their budget is even more than that of the federal. But in Nigeria here, we have so many states with good, huge resources, natural resources, but they are not tapping them just because everybody wants to come to the capital, to the federal, to come and collect what they feel they should. Especially the oil-rich states. I see no reason why they shouldn't be doing so well.
But do you think the budgets of the state, of these states, are accessible for individuals, citizens and CSOs to actually scrutinize?
Yeah, they are, because if actually you want it, you can have it. But the problem is, even the process of the budgeting itself, you just see a governor sit in his room and just plan the budget and present it to the legislators and everything goes.
Another thing is, are the people
interested
and interested to...
Yeah, that is why the CSOs need to do more, while the media needs to really amplify these needs, because if the people know that this is our collective property, we need to fight for, we need to know what is involved, we need to hold these people accountable. You promised to do this in the government, the state has put this in the allocation for the state. How come this project has not been implemented? How come this road has not been done? Now you promised to do this, this school you said you rehabilitate it is in the budget. How come this has not been done? I think at the state level, people need to be more literate. There's need for more awareness.
Need for awareness.
Yes. So that they can actually know that this budget is for us as a people in this state, and we need to demand for accountability. You promised to, this is in the budget, how come it has not been done? But a lot of people don't bother.
All right. It's a big problem, but we have to move on now. But I have to remind you listening to us out there, to follow us on our social media platforms at Official Primorg. Once again, Primorg is spelled P-R-I-M-O-R-G.
And remember that this program is interactive. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message to is 0902-265-6167. That is 0902-265-6167. Now the question we would ask you are, how would you react to the conversation? How bothered are you about corruption in Nigeria's budgeting system? Do you think there is a commensurate value for the billions budgeted yearly in Nigeria? In fact, it's more than billions, trillions. How best can budget fraud be tackled in Nigeria?
You can reach us on 0809 40,072. 0809 40,072. Call us up and have your say.
Okay, while we're waiting for the calls, let's shift our attention to Tope. Initially, you mentioned the National Assembly. So how can the National Assembly be properly equipped to vet the proposals from the executive to remove duplications?
Oh, okay. So that's when they're not adding their own duplications. They're assuming they're not. And I wanted to say very quickly that, you see, pertaining to the states, most of them don't bother to publish their budgets anymore, unfortunately. Some of them made attempts in the past. But if you went online, you won't see anything for most of them. Lagos State tried. Under Fashola, they tried to be a bit transparent. Well, subsequently, everything went into a black hole. So the citizens become intimidated. They believe, and at the state level, they know where you live. You go to the state government house, they know where you're coming from. They say, this guy is giving us problem. And, people are trying to avoid trouble, to say, before somebody goes, send someone after them and so on. So if you, with the other time, when I was doing the analysis of budgets across countries, I was shocked how much the level of transparency it was in South Africa. If you Google the budget of Johannesburg as we speak, Johannesburg city, not even a county, not even a region, all right? You see the budget of Johannesburg online now in PDF. Okay, and in fact, the truth was, I found out that the budget of Johannesburg was about $5 billion in 2018 or 2019 when I was doing this research. Which was like 1/5 of what Nigeria was doing, and Johannesburg had about 3 million people. Okay, the budget of Cape Town, you will see it online, not to talk of the budget of South Africa itself, you know. So you ask me about what can the legislators do. Legislators are very smart people too, and they have money at their disposal to buy any latest technology to ensure that, because if the kind of technology is, in fact, the problem that we're talking about, if you look at it, you know, is what they call a big data problem. A big data problem when you have budget for about, you know, the MDAs now are close to 1,000. The ministry departments and agencies, they're close to 1,000 for the federal level alone. And so each of them is sending in budgets. You can get confused. Sometimes when you have a big data problem like this, what you then have to do is to deploy technology. You can do like a keyword search. Okay, if you do a keyword search, you say, what's the budget item? Maybe building a new head office or something like that. And in fact, that big data problem is not only for the current budget. The same big data crisis, the same big data issue connects with previous year's budget. So how do you tell that this car that this MDA wants to buy wasn't purchased 2 years ago? 2 years ago and 3 years ago, which means that it should still be in the system. So there's a need for them to deploy technology, and I'm sure, number one, they have the budget for that. They have enough money to be able to get a smart person to write something for them, or commission a consultant to go into the system and ensure that they are checking that is a system that will tell you, as a computer that will tell you that this thing has already been budgeted, even when they try to change the names around a bit, because people who are interested in doing multiple budgeting like this will try and twist the name around. All right,
when you change the song, they will change the dancing
exactly. So they will change the name around. So your system has to be smart enough to detect and to highlight those things so that you can then look at it and say, okay, why are you doing this budgeting? But again, like I said before, the legislator should check the executives. The executive should check the legislator. The people should check the two of them.
Checks and balances.
Yes, the people, we the people. Apart from TSO, we also shouldn't go to sleep and say budget IT will continue to do the work. We the people, not only budget IT, people like Ezo Yekpere does a lot of work in this regard. You know, so we the people and even opposition political parties, that's what they should be doing to ensure that we put all of these guys on their toes to do the right thing.
Okay, thank you so much. Everybody should get involved in budgeting.
We have a long read.
Yes,
a message. Yeah.
Okay, we have a message from Emmanuel from Nasarawa State, and it says the topic of discussion is very interesting. What led to this evil in Nigeria is because there is no one to stand up and say, if I die, let me die. Wow. The first person to commit evil has done it and gone free. Right from time when I was in primary school, I heard about the Ajokuta steel industry. Since till then, budget is being made for it and nothing seems to be done there, and nobody has been arrested nor prosecuted. Again, there is no refund of money. You can imagine duplicated projects inside the national budget. Please, the power that be has crippled Nigeria.
All right, so let's continue this conversation, Adobe. Let's stay with Dr. Tobe immediately by seeking a little bit of solution here. What are the fundamental reforms needed to block leakages and reduce stealing of public funds through budgeting? You've mentioned technology initially. What are others we can leverage on?
Well, you know, it's technology seems to be very critical, and as much as we can invest on that, you know, it's very important. You know, I also think that, you know, like I said, some of these issues come from the flaws of the political system that we, you know, that we operate on. So what we could also do is to try and benchmark and check how is this thing run in a place like United States, which is the, you know, when we talk about federalism, and some people talk about true federalism, there's nothing called true federalism actually. It's just that the idea of federalism started from the United States when they pushed back the British monarchy and said, guys, let us come together as, you know, as then they were colonies, to come together into a country and to run our affairs as as equals, okay, coming together at that level. So we could also look at history. We could go back. We could also study empirically what they're doing in the US, how they are managing this problem. Because again, why I said there's no true federalism is that no matter how they did it, that they do it, it will still have issues. They will still have problems. And that's why in the US, you see in the Constitution, they talked about, you know, that they want to be a more perfect union. And that's a permanent thing. That means that it is a journey, not a destination. Seeking this more perfect union. And even if we say that our union is perfect today, Nigeria as well, our union is perfect. But we are seeking a more perfect union. Because it's either your union is perfect or you're saying it's not there at all. 0-1 is a binary issue. Okay, so but if you encourage yourself that your union is perfect, your union in the US is not perfect. In a place like Texas, people who in Texas who want to break away till tomorrow, they call themselves the Lone Star State. They want to be on their own in Texas and a few other states in the South. There are people who don't believe in all of those things that Abraham Lincoln stood for. So we can also leverage on how are they doing it, conduct a research, and also begin to reform our minds, okay, to say, okay, these problems that we have in Nigeria, can we make it work, you know? So, but technology, I see, is prime on my mind in that regards, okay? But technology is prime on my mind, and we have to really invest in technology and be truthful to ourselves. And also, government must continue to encourage the civil society agencies and the people to do our own duty, which is, you know, we are the ones that do the oversight for everybody. And once this is done, that perhaps they want to put in place avenues by which people can speak up on some of these issues, and, you know, maybe anonymously, such that if somebody noticed something, there's a place you can drop it. You know, a lot of that will be online in the age of social media, so that once you drop something on social media, everybody sees it. And that whatever concerns can be picked up from that level and implemented in getting the budget right. And again, also, one of the things we may do in terms of the budget fundamentally is to say, okay, how do we get a budget that actually represents what the people want? So from the beginning, when you're putting your budget together, let us see evidence that you have gone to the grassroots to say what do they want, and you're taking on board some of those things that they want. You see, our people are living, some of our people, millions of our people are living in very, very abject poverty that has so much damaged their mind that they don't know what is right anymore. Okay, even in Abuja here, I've been to some places in Mpape. You know, there's a place called Ajegule in Mpape, for example. I don't know, posh people like you cannot go there.
I've been to Smart
and you know what? The United Nations says 70% of Nigerians live in those slums. 70% of Nigerians. The people live in the city here. We push them behind, we push them back, and say they don't have a right to come here. But we want them to come and work for us.
But they have a right.
They do have a right. They're citizens of the country. So it will be good eventually to see that our budgets are actually coming with the opinions of it. Because, for example, if you see the National Assembly, almost on a yearly basis, they change their cars. They will buy these big jeeps for themselves, and it has to go round. When this new government came in, there was that problem about, look, why don't we? And we were trying to encourage them. Look, let's go local. Let's support our own. We have a couple of companies. Pan is there in Kaduna. Innocent is there. Guys, why don't you use it? No, they will get the latest Toyota, whatever, Land Cruiser, latest whatever, and so on. And so, if you ask the people, will the people support that you go and buy a car of 150 million for each legislator? No, the people will not.
That's quite expensive. Yes.
And so we that is where we should be going eventually. Absolutely. A budget that reflects the wishes and opinions of the people. That's the thing.
Thank you for that assessment. Let me get to Ayuade. Year in, year out, we hear of budget padding and other infractions by the MDA. What do you think is limiting the anti-corruption agencies from bringing those indicted in the public sector more to book?
Yeah, I think this is really another pathetic problem, but the challenge is we have weak institutions. These anti-corruption agencies themselves, they are not strong enough because they listen to the powers that be because they are the ones that put them there. Thankfully, last month, right, President Buhari asked the National Assembly to pass the anti-corruption bill, the 3, that's the whistleblower the
Witness
protection bill and the crime
procedure.
I think if those bills are in place, are enforced, that will also help to really cushion the effect too, because they will know that indeed there are bills that are not just being passed, but it should be strengthened, because we have weak institutions, so corruption thrives everywhere, because nobody is brought to book to come and face the consequences of what they have done. So if those institutions are strengthened, I think that can really help. And also, even the head of these agencies, there should be a system in place where they will not be accountable, where they can be independent. You understand? Not to the legislators or to the National Assembly or to the president, so that they can actually act based on their constitution without fear or favor from anyone. And they also should be culpable when they go wrong, when they are found corrupt. They should also be punished. But in a way where there's immunity, a lot of people do things and get away with it. So I think the fundamental thing is to strengthen this anti-corruption institution so that they can really be strong enough to bring anybody to book, irrespective of whose house is God. If we get to that level, when everybody knows that, even those at the ends of affair knows that if I do this, I'm going to go for it, then everybody will sit tight.
Okay,
consequence for
action. It's key. Let me take this message. It's from Taiwo from Kuje, and it says, I appreciate the opportunity for citizens to be enlightened on their roles in attaining good governance. Your guest did not answer my question. Apologies for that. If the FCT administration is found wanting in the recent discovery of budget fraud, again, I am pleased to inform citizens wherever they reside that you have a right to know how you are being governed. Ask critical questions using an organized structure. Example, pressure groups, community development associations, and other civil society platforms to amplify your challenges and scrutinize public spending. Our participation is key. Nigeria will be great again. Thank you so much, Taiwo, for your message.
All right, I think we'll go to Dr. Fashua now to...
Yes, earlier you talked about not just CSOs and citizens, but also the political parties getting involved, not just in politics, but in governance. So how should political parties be interested in budgets? How can they achieve this?
What is a budget? All right. In my view, the budget is the most important document in the country in a given year. It's the most important document. Okay, it's not, you don't write constitution every year. Budget is like the constitution that comes every year. It's what says this is what we are going to do, whether at the state level. Okay, is anybody doing budgeting at the local government level in this country? Nobody. Because what happens is they get a federal allocation.
Are they functional?
Oh, they get the state collects the allocation and then they put it in some joint account. Though there's a law that the current government has put that said that they should actually get their money. But the person is not working. But the person who is actually sitting down as the chairman or caretaker committee, whatever, was appointed by the governor. So they will tell him, okay, this is your money. You know, like Buhari said, like President Buhari said, they said, this is your money, is 300 million. Sign for 300 million, but they give you 100 million. But and you don't have a choice. Otherwise, they will remove you. So the budget is a Bible. It's a holy grail that, you know, guides the operations of the country in a given year. And not only that, the government of any country is still the biggest spender in that country, whether federal or state, or we put them together, that's the biggest spender. So if the federal government is budgeting 17 trillion, how much are the states budgeting? We have 36 states plus Abuja, 37. Okay, maybe a place like Lagos is doing 1 trillion plus. The rest of them are not able to do that. You know, we understand that. Okay, fine. That sometimes you know, it's an aspiration, but you see, as much as the budget is an aspiration to say, oh, this is what I want to do this year, it's also the thing that drives you. You have to use it to drive yourself. To say that whereas we did 50 last year, we must be able to do 60 this year. So the funding, of course, is the key challenge. You have to drive yourself to get the funding. So the budget is very, very, very critical in a country, and therefore, you know, every attention must be put to it. What is a political party doing that calls itself a political party that does not have opinion on the budget of a country? I ran a political party in the past, the NRP. We had opinions, we had a shadow government, we had opinions about the budget. We told some of the things they're doing today, and I must tell you, by God's grace, I've interacted with Mr. Ben Akabweze, who's the chief budget officer. Some of the ideas I was espousing them, they've taken them on board. And so budgets, everybody must get involved in the budget.
Everybody must get involved. I must quickly get you involved into this national issue that is being discussed everywhere. I believe you've seen the furore about fuel subsidy lately. Some Nigerians doubt the quantity of petrol NNPC claims Nigerians are consuming, and also see subsidy payment as a drain pipe. What is your position on this?
In May last year, we got a number that said that 93 million liters were consumed in this country on a daily basis. 93 million liters. As at the time Dr. Ibe Kachiku was coming as a minister or as a NNPC MD, it was 42, but they said it was 60 million then. And the man challenged, I remember in his confirmation, he was challenging that no, he doesn't believe this is up to 60. From 42, are we drinking the fuel on a daily basis? So it's a major issue. I warned the government, I said, you cannot touch this issue now. Because there are so many things around deregulation. It's beyond just being, you want to sound like you are enlightening. We can't be subsidizing. Are we even subsidizing? Buhari said in 2014 or so that anybody that said he's subsidizing is a fraud. Okay, but he got there and he got consumed by the same problem. So there are so many issues to consider. What exactly is deregulation? Are we ready for deregulation? Look at how we deregulated cement. Now cement is moved from 1,500 naira to 5,000 naira as we speak. We deregulated kerosene. Kerosene moved from 150 naira, 457 naira as I speak. We deregulated electricity. In my house where I'm staying since 2013 to date, I'm paying ×6 more.
Dr. Fashion,
so we have a
something
problem.
Is missing here.
Yes.
When the current Minister of Petroleum, Minister of State, Silva, said he also doubts this.
You know what I'm saying?
If people in the position
are doubting it, how much more, people like me, we that are, so listen, we are not even sure of what the numbers are. And, now they are budgeting 3 trillion. How much is the national budget? You are budgeting 3 trillion to go and intervene in
for 18 months
subsidy alone. So we're in deep problem. So you see, where we're going is, look, all of us must have to cool down. Our priorities must change as a country. This subsidy thing is just telling us one thing: we need to change our ways. And except we want to change our ways by force, we had better sit down together, especially those who run this economy, and actually change our ways going forward. We have been spending on the wrong priorities. We haven't been doing the right thing and all of that. So that's the issue. There's so many issues to unpack on that subsidy matter.
All right, thank you so much. We really must change our ways. But before we wrap up, because our time is fast spent, Ayode, it is barely 16 months before President Buhari's administration elapses. What do you think the government can do to advance the anti-corruption fight with the time left? In 1 minute, if that will be enough for you.
I doubt if a miracle can happen, but perhaps, if, just like I said, if they can strengthen the anti-graft institutions, I think that can, to a large extent, help. But I think we just need to overhaul the system. Everything is just like he was complaining that the price of everything has really skyrocketed. We don't even have price control in Nigeria. The fuel we are talking about, I was at the forum where they were complaining that we don't even have the measuring gauge to know how much is being how much regenerate from it. So everything, the whole system is just, I don't see a miracle happening. But just like I said, if they can really strengthen the anti-graft agencies, just like those 3 bills that has just been passed, if they can really be serious about it to make sure that it is strengthened, it is enforced, perhaps some things can be done. But I just think this 18 months is too small to do any magic. We should just be hopeful for the next administration. Perhaps we can do something better with it. It's too late.
It's too late. They should just apologize to them.
It's an apology enough, but
there's nothing else they can do. They apologize and go.
In your last words, Dr. Fashua, what is your advice to the President on rescuing the public sector of being a hub of corruption with the little time left, even if a little lift
Well,
of finger.
Yes,
In
in 30 seconds, I'm sorry, actually, we beg them, we advise them, they refuse to listen. They can only apologize to us now and leave, seriously, because there's no magic that can happen in 6 months. Except they want to do something crazy. And that would mean, how many people are there to throw in jail? Including their friends. If they throw like 500 people in jail, okay, Nigerians will clap for them, even though that may still not amount to much, but I'm sure that they won't do it.
Okay, thank you so much. We are hopeful that the government will take the necessary step to address the issues that we have highlighted today.
Although our guests are not convinced so much that they will do much, but
They
we have to
prefer
go.
an apology.
But we have to go. Our time is fast spent. Please visit the news page of our website, primognews.org, and that is primognews.org for all the details of our reports and interview. Visit our website, primog.org, to get all the information about Primog.
And you can watch our videos on Primog TV, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. We sincerely appreciate our guest, economist and businessman, Dr. Tope Fashra. Thank you so much for being a part of today's program.
You're welcome.
And also the head of news at KISS FM, Mrs. Ayuade Olatokewa, for joining us. Thank you. Public Conscience has the support of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation on its website, macfound.org.
Join us again here next week for another episode of Public Conscience, and remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Official Primog. I am Chidozie Obunnaya.
And remember that birth registration and birth certificates are both free if your child is under 18. Help stop the corruption in birth registration and do not pay for birth certificates. And remember that you can give us information or hint about Corrupt Act through our phone 0902-265-6167 or info@primorg.org. I am Adaobi Obiabumo. Stay safe.